I asked Cecilina to come and do this. And, I said, I'll never ask you to do another thing for me if you come and do this. She introduced me in Panama. We had like an impromptu thing for patients, and there were about, I don't know, 60 people that came to it. The introduction was just almost made me cry. So I thought, who better to introduce me but Cecilina? So I said, you just do this one thing for me. I don't know how many more lectures I'm going to give, but I would really love you to come and do this. And then you also have to do my funeral in case you outlive me. Thank you, Cecilina. And thank you to our other speakers, Dr. Paz, Dr. Shapiro, Dr. Ozarker. And thank all of you for coming. There are a lot of people here that I know, a lot of people that I don't know, but I would encourage you to talk to other people while you're here in our short time together. There are a lot of people here that have been to Panama, but a lot of people here that have been treated here, and learn from their experiences. So, 3 years ago, right about now, I went to I have a little ranch, non-functional piece of dirt that has a little house on it. It's up by the Oklahoma border. And we suffer from a pig problem up there. The pigs root out everything they can. And so I had recently bought a gun. I grew up in Kansas. You'd think I grew up growing up with guns, but I didn't. You know, in Texas, I think it's a law you have to have one, especially if you have pigs. So I had no experience. So I bought this gun and I went up to my ranch. I had this little picnic table out there, and I was sighting it in. I have like a target and stuff, so I was just learning how to fire this rifle. And I got a call from my best friend in Wichita, where I grew up, and said, "What you doing at the ranch? It's a beautiful spring day, sitting on the picnic table, shooting imaginary pigs." And then during the conversation, we were talking for about 20 minutes. During the conversation, I started to feel hot. And I said, "Yeah, man, I'm hot." And he goes, "Well, can you smell okay?" I said, "Yeah, it smells a little bit funny." He goes, "Well, I was going to stay out there the weekend." And he said, "Don't stay out there the weekend. Go home." So I went home, and then my son took me to the emergency room, and I had COVID. And the treatment at that time was, "I think you have COVID. I got nothing to give you." This was March of 2020. "Go home, and when you can't breathe, go to the hospital." And I said, "There's nothing?" He said, "Nothing." So I went home. My son was bunkering here from New York. He and his girlfriend were staying at my house because New York was sort of a bloodbath at the time. People were dying, dropping like flies. And so, dutifully, as the doctor said, I started having breathing troubles, and my son took me to the hospital. And the last thing I remember was being hooked up to oxygen and all the bells and whistles of the EKG and everything. And I texted Jorge, Dr. Paz, and I said, "I'm on 6 liters, and I have 81%." Anyway, so they had to intubate me. They put me under. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. I don't remember any of this. I'm told afterwards. So when I woke up, my daughter was there. I had been intubated and ECMO'd. So that means my immune system was attacking my lungs to get rid of the virus, and in the process, it was destroying what was left of my lungs. And they had to put me on this bypass machine where it takes blood out and it oxygenates it and puts it back in. And they argued over whether they were going to put me on it. They had transferred me from Grapevine, which is close to my house, down to Bumsey, which is Baylor University Medical Center down in Dallas, because they didn't have the stuff to take care of me up here. And they took me down there, and I was on ECMO. They said we need to put him on ECMO, and apparently there was an argument with the doctors, and this little female pulmonologist fought for me, and she said, "I think this guy deserved a chance." They had lost 37 in a row. The first 37 people on ECMO didn't make it. With ARDS, without ECMO, the survival is less than 50%. Not just then, but carrying on. They've gotten a lot better, but for the first year, it was less than 50% survival for somebody on a ventilator, and in some cases, it was as low as 5% for ECMO. So, anyway, I woke up, my daughter was there, she's a PA, and at that time, they didn't let people in the hospital. I had a lot of friends, some of them in powerful places, and they were able to get my daughter in there. When I got out, I weighed about 60 pounds less, had no muscle. Took me 3 months to be able to walk. And after about 6 months, I was pretty good. And I went back to the infectious disease doctor, the guy who was there with me every day in the hospital. And he actually got a non-approved drug to treat me. The whole time I was in there, my kids are saying, and my colleagues are saying, give him umbilical mesenchymal stem cells. He has plenty of them. And we know that they treat inflammation, and this boy is inflamed. And they made calls, and they called politicians, they called everybody in the hospital system, and ultimately they got a dose of umbilical MSCs shipped to the hospital. The day before that, before the cells got there, my brother started a pharmaceutical company called Gilead Sciences. So my whole family was working to try and get me better. And they had a drug that inhibits inflammation, and tocilizumab is the name of it. So I was the first COVID patient to get tocilizumab, mainly because of my brother's intervention. And thank God that tocilizumab, what it does is it blocks all your receptors to this interleukin-6, which is an inflammatory molecule, and that was enough for me, and I survived. So when I went to the doctor, thank you. So when I went back to the infectious disease, I'm relatively healthy, and he said, well, you're not supposed to be here, but you are. What are you going to do? So at that time, I made the commitment to myself that the entire rest of my existence is going towards getting mesenchymal stem cells available to as many people as possible in the world. So.